That right there looks like a nice little sandwich from some fancy restaurant. One of the most convenient places that I like to go during lunchtime is at Starbucks. I usually get a coffee and, depending on the mood, a little sandwich. One of the most popular sandwiches is the tomato mozzarella panini sandwich. So I thought to myself, why not try to take a stab at it myself and make that mozzarella panini sandwich from Starbucks right at home. Before we get started, consider subscribing to this channel and hitting that like button. When you hit that like button, it really helps my channel. It tells the almighty YouTube algorithm that this content is great so that it shows it to a lot of people. For making this recipe, the very first thing you need are some roasted tomatoes. You can either buy them from the store, pre-bottled, or learn how to make them like I am doing right now. For this recipe, I'm using one medium-sized tomato. To get started, we're gonna go ahead and slice our tomatoes. So go ahead and start slicing it like this. You can slice it however you want to, but just remember, the thicker it is, the more time it's gonna take to get baked. For marinating the tomatoes, add 1 teaspoon or 6 grams of salt. Then we're gonna add half a teaspoon or less than 2 grams of black pepper. Then we're gonna drizzle some olive oil, about 1 tablespoon or 8 grams. And to give this some pizzazz, we're gonna add 1 teaspoon of balsamic vinegar. This is optional. If you don't have it, you don't need to add it, but adding this really gives it a lot of flavor. After you're done adding in all the ingredients, go ahead and mix everything up very nicely. You wanna make sure each piece of tomato is coated evenly so that it gets marinated properly. At this step, you can let them marinate for about 10 to 15 minutes, or if you don't want to, just go straight into the baking stage. I'm using a non-stick baking tray, so I don't need to put any foil or parchment paper, but if you have the standard baking tray, then put some parchment paper or oil depending on whatever you have available. If you have any leftover juice from the marination, just pour that back onto the tomatoes. It really enhances the flavor this way. Finally, we are ready to bake the tomatoes. You're gonna bake the tomatoes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or around 180 degrees centigrade or Celsius for about 15 to 20 minutes. If you cut your tomatoes thicker, then it's probably going to take longer than that. While our tomatoes are baking in the oven, we're going to go ahead and start cutting our bread. I'm using the ciabatta bread. This can be easily bought at the grocery store. You can always experiment with whatever bread you have available at home. The very first thing we're going to do is start adding some pesto. Traditionally, Starbucks uses basil pesto, which is green in color. I don't like that, so I'm going to use tomato pesto, but it's up to you, whatever you want to choose. It's your sandwich. Next, we're going to go ahead and add in our baked tomatoes. Then we're going to go ahead and top it off with some mozzarella cheese. And finally, top that off with some spinach and sprinkle some oregano on top for some extra added flavor. Go ahead and put that lid on, and now we're ready to bake this in the oven. For baking this, you're going to turn up the heat to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees centigrade or Celsius. And you're going to bake this for around 10 to 12 minutes. Now I admit I could have baked it for longer and gotten that golden crust outside, but I only baked it until my cheese started melting because I don't like overdone cheese. So that's it for making a delicious mozzarella panini from Starbucks. Do let me know in the comments below if you like this recipe, and let me know what should I make next. And until next time, enjoy this B-roll.